Welcome to the GTN Show.
Welcome. We're feeling full of the joys of spring today. It's not quite spring yet, but I did see the first daffodil in my garden this morning, so it's getting close, we hope. And that means it's time to plan your races for the year, so we're going to help you today to make the most of that.
Yeah, on top of that, there are some new sponsor announcements. There is more news on the banned shoes, plus some triathletes running super fast in the off-season.
Plus, we saw some hot new shoe tech from Nike. Well, patents for it anyway.
Okay, we're kicking things off with stuff we have spotted online that is of interest to us and hopefully to you. This first one, or first two actually, are collaboration posts with Ventum Cycling. Yes, they have just announced 2 new triathletes to their roster. This first one, Indy Lee, says we're thrilled to welcome Indy Lee to the Ventum team, and there's some quite funky pictures of her on a bike. And we're actually just chatting in the office last week saying, I don't think Indy Lee's got a bike sponsor. So
well, she does now.
See, yeah.
And another one on the team is Steph Clutterbuck, who you might remember. She stepped in a few times while Heather was away having a baby. A guest of the channel, a friend of the channel, and she is now also on Ventum Racing, both riding the new Ventum that we actually showcased when we were out in Kona. They just released it then. And I got to say, the colours look pretty cool, the new colours. I hadn't seen that colourway of Steph's bike, that purple one. It's really cool. So congratulations to both of them on their new sponsor. Also, another sponsorship announcement, Vincent Luis has announced he is partnered with Nike for the foreseeable. In fact, he said till the end of his career. He's actually been with them already for 10 years. They supported him, and they've extended that contract to the end of his career, so basically a lifetime.
That's very cool, isn't it? I mean, most athletes sort of aspire to a sponsorship like that in the first place for 1 or 2 years, but to have that for a lifetime, that's great backing. It just gives you that confidence as an athlete as well.
And it also helps to have a stack of shoes as high as you are, as tall as you are.
I mean, there's that bonus too, isn't it? Yeah. On to sort of looking ahead for this year, Patrick Lange has announced his race schedule. Admittedly, this is a post that's with IRONMAN Tri, so you never know, he might slip in another race here or there. Aside from that, but it is quite light in a sense, isn't it? I mean, we're used to Patrick running, racing not too often, and hence the last year when he didn't do 70.3 Worlds and lost that top spot on the Pro Tri Series. But he's got 70.3 Oceanside, that's his first race, then full in Texas, European Champs in Frankfurt, World Championships in Nice, and then he is doing the 70.3 Worlds this year in Marbella. Obviously, not so much travel for him with that one compared to New Zealand.
It's kind of the minimum amount you can do for the Pro Series. And last year he just missed that top spot on the Pro Series by missing out on one race, and he's clearly decided he's not doing extra this year. Interesting choice. Meanwhile, from lots of races to hanging up the racing, Geraint Thomas has decided to retire from professional cycling, and he will do his final race at the Tour of Britain later this year. He announced to the BBC recently. Why this is interesting to us as triathletes is because somewhere in that interview he snuck it in there that he may be looking to stay involved in the sport, but also try one of those Ironman things.
Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, casually dropping it in there. I mean, he did say that his running is his weak point, which you would kind of, I mean,
you would expect.
Obviously, we don't know about the swim, but we know that the cycle part is kind of okay.
Yeah, he'll be okay on the bike. Anyway, it'll be really interesting to see him actually do one of those. So I hope he does do one of those Ironman things. We also noticed this, a triathlon market research company has announced, or Market Research Future has announced that they have predicted that the triathlon clothing business is going to grow from a $16.49 billion US this year to an estimated $32.1 billion by 2032. They predict that it's going to keep growing at the rate it's currently growing of 7.6% per year, all the way up to 2032. A quote from the article says, the demand for specialized clothing that enhances performance, provides comfort, and ensures aerodynamics has led to significant innovation in materials, design, and manufacturing processes. With an increasing number of triathletes worldwide, the market is expected to experience steady growth throughout the forecast period, that is until 2032, which is a very positive outlook for the future.
It's a bold prediction, isn't it?
Well, some people are betting on it, so we think it's good news for the industry.
Yeah, definitely. Great news. On to sort of less positive news on banned running shoes. Now, you guys really got sort of into the comments last week, which we loved after the show, and there's still a lot of questions that are unanswered. James and I were chatting about this of like, how would you know necessarily if your shoe is banned? And that has just happened last week at the USA TF 100 Mile Road Championships, where their winner wore shoes that were illegal and had his victory taken away from him. Now, yeah, there's a few quotes that he don't think he really realised.
Yeah, Raj Paul Panu he finished first, but his shoes had an illegal stack out. He was running in the Hoka Skyward X, which is a high-performance max-cushioned trainer, and he actually thought they were just training shoes. Yeah. He thought they were too heavy to be a race shoe, but he decided they'll actually be okay. They'll be supportive enough for 100 miles, so he ran in them. Interestingly, they have a 48mm rear stack out and 43 in the front, so they are way beyond that 40mm limit. But the on-race USA track and field commissioner didn't even notice that he had illegal shoes on. No one noticed whatsoever. It was someone who was watching the live stream who actually dobbed him in and pointed out that he's running in shoes that are illegal. After which there was an investigation, and then he was disqualified from the race, which is fair enough. And he actually said that he completely agrees with it. He doesn't have a problem with being disqualified. He took full responsibility for his actions. Although he did point out that he didn't realize that they were illegal shoes. He figured that they weren't even race shoes and that he was okay to wear them, which we have actually mentioned before, where how do you know whether your shoes are you supposed to take calipers with you?
You've got to get your laser measurement
when you're buying your shoes and make sure that they're legal. I mean, one of the shoes on the IRONMAN banned list that we spoke about last week is the Asics Nova Blast, which have a 43mm stack out. But they aren't even race shoes. They don't even have a carbon plate in them. No one's going to really use them for racing. They are a high mileage trainer, but they were banned. So if you thought, I'll just wear my training shoes for this Ironman, you could get disqualified. So maybe
it's a grey area.
Like, you know, those albums have parental advisory explicit content stamped on them if they have swear words in them. Maybe you need one of those stickers on your shoe boxes now if they are banned shoes.
I think there is something that we need. Yeah, the shoe industry should sort of help us out as consumers, shouldn't it? Moving on, but I'm imagining legal running shoes, but incredibly fast running time from Leonie Periault. So she's just been following, I guess, in the footsteps of her countrywoman Cassandra Bergrand, who broke the 5K road record for her country a couple of weeks ago. Leonie Periault ran a 31:45 for a 10K in Cannes. I mean, that is just crazy fast. Whatever shoes she was wearing, that was fast.
That is very fast. Also fast runners, the triathletes, Olivia Mathias, who raced the cross-country championships in the UK here and actually finished third overall, which was very impressive. She posted this on things. She couldn't believe it, third at the National Cross Country Champs. And then Alexei, her boyfriend, posted a picture, a little meme of the Roadrunner. I'm not sure whether he meant that she was really speedy like the Roadrunner, or whether it was some kind of ironic joke because it's the opposite of running on the road. She's not running on the road, she's running cross country. Anyway, very fast running. Georgia Taylor-Brown also raced that race and finished 9th. So Olivia Mathias got one over on her.
And that is there's some serious runners who go to nationals for sure. And there was some serious mud as well, as you can see.
Looks like it,
serious news, but not so great for Laura Madsen, who has had a great sort of breakthrough season last year, really, and was looking sort of ready to really give the T100 a shot this year. And she has just announced that she's sadly got a stress fracture in her sacrum, which is not only incredibly painful, it's also, going to mean some serious time out from training. Yeah,
long time to recover from that one. Yeah, we wish her all the best and a fast recovery. We actually were with her out in Lanzarote not too long ago. She raced us up a hill, beat me soundly, so she clearly was in good shape, but unfortunately, she is now on the road to recovery. So hopefully we'll see her back racing soon.
In other news, I have entered a triathlon. Now, this is quite big news because I'm not very familiar with my bicycle or a swimming pool at the moment, to say the least. I have entered a middle distance, not just any one, it is one that is on an island. So Challenge Sabanias are hosting Olympic middle distance and long distance event on a wildlife reserve, which is on this island just off of Abu Dhabi, and it just sounds so amazing.
So you're going to be racing past giraffes and gazelles, maybe even hyenas and cheetahs, I believe.
And that's the motivation, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
I mean, of both ways.
There's also, it's a resort island, so there's all kinds of other holiday excursions and activities you can do around the race. I'm sure Heather's looking forward to that, but she is going to have to get through the race.
Yeah, I mean, I am there for work, obviously.
Yeah. She didn't get the only entry though, so there are still entries available.
There definitely are, and if you want to join me on this race, then you are in luck because we do have a 20% discount. We're teaming up with Challenge, and if you use the code GTNCSBY20, then you can get 20% off your entry. As James said, they're open as entries for all 3 distances at the moment. It's is over the 5th and 6th of April, and there's transfers provided from Abu Dhabi. So I've got a few weeks to get fit.
Plenty of time to train.
Hopefully see you guys out there.
Well, as we said, with Heather entering a race in the very near future, and me also getting excited for the joys of spring and looking down the calendar at various races, it got us talking about our approaches to spring in the off season and getting ready for the season. And we're kind of going through some personal anecdotes, like when I've been really, really fit in February and March and thought this is going to be the best season ever. And come April, May, June, you're kind of burned out or injured or need to take a break. And then, of course, you have the other end of the coin, which is maybe Heather this year.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to talk about this anyway and then realise that I have actually, in a sense, entered a triathlon. I haven't even looked. You guys are going to tell me how many weeks it is. I don't actually know because I have cycled for 30 minutes on the turbo last week and I went to the swimming pool for 20 minutes last week. I am currently running more than that, you'll be pleased to know, but I am slightly scared. But James, I mean, you just ran a race on the weekend, looking quite fast.
I did. Well, I have been training since the beginning of January on my hour-a-day Ironman program, which is definitely getting me fitter. Whether it's getting me fit enough for an Ironman remains to be seen, but we will circle back to that in a future video. At the moment, though, we're talking about spring is come. And as spring arrives, it's easy to get really motivated and you get really inspired. And then you start putting out the calendar and you start looking at all these races and they all seem nice and distant, an Ironman in August or a half Ironman in June. You think that's plenty of time for me to get ready. I'm going to enter that. And you start entering races. And then something happens and all of a sudden the race is just around the corner and you're not ready for it at all.
I mean, I don't know how that happens.
But it happens every time. And so we want to help you with this year so that 2025 can be your best year. So we're talking through some tips and tricks to make sure that you turn that spring enthusiasm into summer success and don't waste it being all enthusiastic now and then it turns into summer panic.
Yeah, I mean, first up, you want to be setting those races, I guess, actually looking at the calendar, like we said, but put it in the diary. And I find it's really useful to put it in the diary with a countdown. So then, again, to me, I'm like, April's miles away, but actually I think it's only maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks, kind of. When it's in weeks and numbers like that, that gives you a little bit more of a, oh, sugar moment. Also, then obviously have a goal for your time, depending on where you're at and how long you have to that date. And then break that down as well. If you are specifically looking at triathlons, where you want to be with each discipline as opposed to the overall, because that's, I guess, a bit more of a bigger number, but you want to be looking at, then you can work out how much you're going to be spending on each of those 3 disciplines.
Yeah, I think you need to make it as specific as possible so that you can, you almost get scared enough that you have to train. And then you need to work backwards from that gold race to the point where your training gets really critical. So if it's an Ironman, probably 16 to 20 weeks out, you're going to need to knuckle down and really focus. And if it's a sprint distance, maybe 8 weeks. And if it's an Olympic distance or half, somewhere in between that, that's when your training gets critical. And you have to put that date in the diary and make sure that from that day, no more excuses. From then on, you're just training to get ready for that day so that you're ready. You don't want to start training now for your Ironman absolutely flat out, and then that's not sustainable for the next 7 months to get there.
Yeah, definitely. And then on that, I guess, if you are really motivated, great, but you need to set process goals. So you're breaking it down into the segments that you know you're going to struggle with. So for me, I mean, James and I were just chatting about it a moment ago, that I struggled to get to the swimming pool. I think you're the same. And last week I actually did that. I said, I'm just going to go to the pool and I'm just going to swim 1 kilometre. That is, I might be able to do more. And I got to kilometres that I probably could do more, but I'm going to stop because I promised myself. Plus, I did promise myself cake afterwards as well. But anyway, I got there. That's the main thing. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, you don't want to set a goal of, it's easy when you're in the spring motivation phase to go, right, I'm going to knuckle down and I'm going to start swimming 5 times a week from now. That's just a goal that you're going to fail at. And when you fail at, you're going to get demotivated. So rather set a goal, I'm going to swim twice a week, maybe for Heather, maybe once a week for Heather, or I'm going to run 20 minutes a day. When you could set a goal of going, I'm going to run an hour a day, that's just not going to work. So don't set goals that are unrealistic and then fail at them. That's really demotivating. And then once you've done that, start with where you are. Don't go, right, well, I'm training for a middle distance or I'm training for an Ironman. I need to therefore be able to ride 3 hours. So this weekend I'm going to go out and ride 3 hours. because if you're not ready to ride 3 hours, again, that's just demotivating. So start where you are and start building towards that point that you put in the calendar where the training gets critical, so that then you're ready to do your 3-hour training rides or whatever it might be. You're training to get to the start point of your program. Does that make sense?
It does, but then that means like, what do I do? Yeah, I don't know how that translates. I'll work that one out later. That's
as
my...
you say, do as we say, not as he that does.
Exactly. That's not just me. That's not my problem. Anyway, also make sure you involve your friends and your family, and it's about being held accountable. So whatever it is, it's going to make you actually go and do that. So, if you're just like, oh, I don't feel like going for my swim today, and I need to get these guys on me as well, because it's like, at lunchtime, I just could just sit at my desk and watch some YouTube videos or something. But you need someone to say, unless you're ill, you need to be going and doing that. If you've said it and you want that support, to make sure it happens, and maybe even finding a training partner. In fact, Phil, who you might have seen on our channel a few times, who is also training for a challenge this summer, he has said that he's swimming next week. So I'm hoping that he's going to drag me to the pool.
It's risky saying this on camera, but I feel like I should probably be going to the pool. I'm not committing to anything, but I should probably also
There we go. Yeah. Okay, come on, let's help each other here.
One final tip for this spring planning thing from me would be, don't go on a spending spree. Now, this might be counter to what some people might say, where they go, buy some stuff, reward yourself, get yourself motivated with new gear. I actually think you should do it the other way around. You should say, right, if I train every day for the next 2 weeks and get into consistent training, I can then reward myself with those new running shoes I need, or a new wetsuit for the season, or whatever it might be. Rather than going on a shopping spree now, getting a whole bunch of packages arriving, going, these are really going to motivate me, but you haven't actually started training yet. Flip it the other way around and use those gears that you have to buy at some point for the year as rewards as you get closer and closer to your race. I found that works a lot better than just having a whole bunch of Amazon packages arriving in February and then trying to get on with the training, and they just stay in the boxes for way too long until that panic training stops. Well, we actually have a video coming out on this in a couple days' time. So if you are planning your season and need some help with that, hit that subscribe button right now, put the notifications on, because in a couple of days we have a video that's coming out on how to DIY your own training program. So you can make the whole program from beginning to end. All the tips and tricks are in that video, and hopefully that helps you, along with today's tricks on how to sort out your spring training.
Yeah, good luck.
Now it's time for your tech news, and this week we have something interesting. Nike has filed a new patent for running shoes, which could fundamentally change how running shoes work. Now, it should be pointed out that Nike files literally thousands of patents every year, and many of them don't turn into anything. However, this one is really interesting. It's electronically controlled, fluid-filled bladders that adjust to your foot's support and cushioning in real time, live.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. So this patent was filed on the 11th of February, and it has this fluid movement controller system embedded within the sole. Now, this system allows for real time for the user, apparently, we're not sure how, to adjust these pressure points. So it can adjust your cushioning and your support according to what your terrain is and what your fatigue levels are.
So these are the features in the patent. Fluid-filled bladders, which are strategically placed within the sole and can inflate and deflate to alter the cushioning and support. Solenoid valves and pumps to obviously control the flow of fluid in and out of those bladders. Pressure sensors that are all over the shoe to sense how much pressure each part of the shoe is under and each part of the bladder is under. User controls, which, as Heather says, we're not sure what those are, but user controls meaning you could manually adjust the pressure as you were going. So you could go, well, I'm getting tired now, I'm going to increase the cushioning or make it firm. I don't know whether you'd make it firmer or softer. Actually.
We'll find out maybe.
You're going to need a user manual so you know what to do too. And an external power source, literally a plug on the heel of your shoe where you can charge up all those power things that are inside there. You actually have to plug in your shoe when you come home from a run.
It is, yeah. I feel like that should then be giving you energy somehow, shouldn't it? Some sort of definitely energy return.
Talking about banned shoes, I mean, surely these ones are going to be banned.
I mean, I'm not sure, World Athletics have yet sort of covered that aspect, but I'm sure they're going to have to. I mean, essentially, this could be some sort of coach that's giving you real-time feedback on how to adjust things, or, it'll definitely make you more aware of your running as well. If you're feeling all this, think how much you'll be thinking about what your feet are doing as you're running with, I need a bit more air there or a bit less air in that part.
Anyway, the patent's been filed. It could be many, many years before we actually see this on someone's feet, but it is interesting what Nike is working on these days.
On to race news, and the season is sort of trickling into gear here, and we've got the Huskey Triathlon at 70.3 in Huskisson, Australia, and that was won by an Australian. Natalie van Coverdon convincingly took the title in the women's race. The men's event, however, was a bit of a shake-up. It was Finnish Henrik Ghosh who took the win there.
Meanwhile, we also had the Winter Triathlon Championships, the only winter triathlon I think I've seen anywhere. This involves run, bike, ski, and then run, bike, ski again. So 2 kilometre run, 4 kilometre bike, 4 kilometre ski, and repeat the whole thing again for a triathlon, which I'd be very interested to try, actually, if it ever snowed here. Or we went somewhere where it snowed, although I have never put skis on my feet, so probably not a good idea. Anyway, it was won on the women's side by Daria Rogozina, who actually also won the World Winter Duathlon Championships just a couple days before. On the men's side, Oleg Chestikov, also from the AIN, which is the Athlete International Neutral, or Neutral Athletes, read Russia, but competing under the individual flag. He won the triathlon, and he was silver in the duathlon. So clearly the top athletes coming to the fore there. He was silver behind Jorgen Bucklid from Norway on the duathlon. Now it's time for Try Spy, and we've been changing it up a little bit. We used to just have pros' faces or a little corner of their face, and you guys were getting them way too easily. So now we're doing courses, and we're trying to calibrate how hard to make them. The first couple were way too easy, so we upped it a notch last week to see if we could stump you guys, and well, we almost managed. In fact, Disco Stew said, Ironman Lanzarote, randomly guessing courses must eventually pay off. He was not right though, so keep randomly guessing this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think last week did require randomly guessing because we only had 2 correct answers. One was Sean Jank 5058 and says, Wales, guys, 1 notch wasn't enough. Okay, now you're showing off, aren't you? Yeah. And then we've also got Zelj Kokota, who did demand the increased sort of difficulty and says, looks like Ironman Wales. I said to step it up a notch, and this was tougher, I have to say. Well, thank you. Yes, it was. And I wonder if it's a bit too tough because I feel like we're, excluding.
I don't know. Some people still did get it right. I don't think we need to go too much easier next week. Maybe we'll go a little bit easier with this one. Can you tell us what course that is? Say what?
Okay, we had lots of lovely comments under our adventure race video that went out last weekend. But lots of you sort of noticing that it was maybe quite British and the weather was quite foul. I mean, that might have been a bit of a giveaway when we were joking like this at the very start of the race. This comment from Ruiz Morelos says, I found that some of the most miserable conditions make for some of the most fun moments if you are with friends.
I think I agree with that, actually. Our frog Graham was also pretty miserable. And it was a fun memory. It's just not so much fun at the time.
Yeah, the hot chocolate afterwards or whatever hot food tastes extra good, doesn't it? Dane Michelin says that looked like a lot of fun and horrible at the same time.
There were some horrible moments. Leroy Sanford said, did one a few years back. It was awesome. Me and my wife, stress and maps. What could go wrong? You are a braver man than me. I don't think I would do that because I can think of a few things that would go wrong if I went out there with my wife and a map. Yeah, no.
That's a video.
It was bad enough with Mark and Heather.
Oh dear. Daniel James just makes the point about the weather. Yeah, does the weather ever not suck in England? And Nick C says, absolutely. Sometimes it's really bad.
Yeah, we'll let you know if it ever doesn't suck. And then Underdog Triathlete said, excuse me, but what is the purpose of this video? He's taking the mick out of himself because previously he asked that, and I think he does understand.
You guys pulled him out, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. He says, no, I'm kidding. Seriously though, I've never heard of an event like this, and it looks fun. It was a lot of fun. We really did enjoy it. There was a fair amount of suffering, though. It was very, very, very cold. It was unpleasant, but it was a lot of fun, and it's really cool to look back on that video.
We survived. We came out the other side stronger.
Well, if you want to watch that, it is on the channel right now. You can go watch it. Coming up later this week on the channel, Mark actually went out and spent a day with Lucy Charles Barkley, so you can get a full update on where she is in her training and also where she is in her season. And of course, Mark actually trained with her, so you can see him getting beaten by her.
Yeah, one to watch. Well, thanks for watching this show, and if you have enjoyed it, you know what to do. Hit that like button. See you next time.